I did this as a comedy routine using one of these phones. Now what it is, the guy was actually, it was like a telegraph. So there's people out there that don't realize that this one time, this was the phone or the roll phone that went to a lot of places. In the back here, it had two copper lines that came in, two copper lines that connected to it. And when they ran these lines, they didn't have to have telephone poles. They just ran them on trees. They could run it on fences, whatever they could to get it off the ground and run it to these phones all over the country. And this, you'll notice there's no dial, no numbers. And what it was is over here, you had this, and it would ring the bell, but it would also send an energy or send electricity that way, and it would go to an operator. And that operator, how may I direct your call? And she had a switchboard, but it was full of plug-ins. So she'd pull one wire, plug it in, and whether you're connecting to a city or someone far away, and when you dial that, and you're sitting there on the end of this, so this went to your ear, and hello, and it wasn't the best signal in the world, but it was what they had. And so it was pretty phenomenal that you could, that was the technology of the day, that you could talk to people in another state, another city, another town. It started to be in the way of doing business. This was the new invention technology of the day when you had family that moved to California. But a lot of times it wasn't always a cheap thing. And then you had to have more and more operators, and also you had to have more and more lines because they didn't have the small lines that we do today. And this thing here, when you open it up, so it actually had a receiver, so it would open up for the earpiece. And this is actually a generator. So when you would turn it, it would actually generate electricity for the phone. And down here, which we don't possess, they had two old batteries. And so this whole system connected together. And in its day, that was your telephone. It was mounted on the walls. Now, back then, they had what was called party lines. You didn't have a number. They just would plug you in. But your neighbors could listen to your phone calls. Many people could be on there. And so when that rang, it would ring at other phones, but it was a different ring for your house. And so you got to look at, some of you people, it's like young people today, you got to realize from where you come from. And there was a day they had a telegraph. They sent basically it was the original text message, and they'd send it across country on a telegram to contact people. So now we have this. They actually have an upgrade on this phone where there is a radio and a phone combined. That was the new technology way back then, and they were all excited about. Wow, it's a telephone and a radio? Yeah. And today you have this. In the coming days, what will be the next generation of technology? And always remember, in some societies, in some parts of history, sometimes you don't always go forward. Sometimes you go backward. So you need to appreciate what you have. Because, one of the main things is electricity. If the electricity goes away, what do you have? You can't charge your phones. Or, if the grid goes down, well, you're not going to go back to these things. But you need to look. And if you're a young person especially, wake yourself up. Pull your head out of your rear end and do not have the mentality, the world's always going to be okay. It's always been like this and it'll just keep getting better. No. You have to be ready for adjustments and changes. One thing I've noticed about a lot of young people, they don't change very well. They want this world to adjust to them. And it's not a reality. It never was, never will be. So this was the technology of the day. It had no numbers. Then we had dial phones. And now we have this. Where would you be if this died overnight? The internet died overnight. And it wasn't coming back for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Could you survive? Could you be okay without the internet, without your cell phones, without electricity? Be thinking of these things in your mind to prepare. For the person that asked the question on one of my videos, this is where you came from. This is a telephone. Thank you very much.